Welcome everybody. I want you all to give yourself a pat on the back for being here. I'll explain that a little bit, but let me, not you. But let me introduce myself first. I'm Tahoe Tony. This is my office with Marion and Michelle. And we want to welcome you to our office. And the reason I want to congratulate you is because, this is not a bar, you do close the door. The reason I want to congratulate you is because I talk to a lot of realtors and they aren't doing any business and they don't know anything to improve themselves. So congratulations for trying to improve yourself, because does everybody know who said this? Your income is directly tied to your skill set. Chris?
I've said that.
You said that. All right. Chris said that. Okay.
You don't know.
There's more of a famous person who might have said that. Tony Robbins says that quite a bit. So if you're not trying to increase your skill set, you're not going to be able to increase your income. So I talked to some realtors and they're like, oh, you know, I've got continued education that day. My daughter's not feeling well. Whatever these reasons, I don't want to say excuse, I want to say reasons, they are important. And it just makes me laugh, because I was thinking, if you had a $5 million listing and someone said, Joanna,
Yeah.
the only time I can meet you was Thursday at 3 o'clock in Incline Village, would you show up?
Heck
Yeah, you would make arrangements, right? That's how important it is to you. But if you look at it, what Dylan's going to teach us today, I'm super excited about, is if you can increase your sales by 1 transaction per month, how much revenue would that bring into you? A lot. I mean, Reno, your average price, what, 500,000, so you're maybe 10,000 a month, so an extra $120,000?
Yeah.
Okay, so how much do you think you'd get if you sold a $5 million house? Okay, sorry. Bruce?
Barely.
500,000 or $5 million listing, like 100,000 probably?
$50,000.
Okay, so when you're investing in yourself and you're improving your skill set, your income's gonna go up. And you do that this year, right? So say you sell that house, you get 150,000, maybe 100,000. You sell another transaction a month. For you, it would be an extra 120,000. What about Tahoe if you sold an extra transaction per month?
Yeah, I mean,
Be like 30,000 a month, right? I mean, 30. Do the math. 30. That's gonna be 360,000.
Yeah.
What would you do with an extra 360,000?
I can think of a lot of things.
Invest in your business, right? And other things. Give back, we want to give back, right? So that's why I'm excited, because you invest in yourself. And the good thing is you do that next year and the next year and the next year, right? So it's not just like you do so much to get that $5 million listing, and you would take time to say, make arrangements. But to make arrangements to improve your skill set, I think is so much more valuable, because you're going to be that person year after year after year. So congratulate yourself, pat yourself on the back. I'm glad you came. I'm glad you're taking the time to invest in your skill set. And the gentleman who's going to help us do that here is Dylan Nonaka. He came all the way from Hawaii. He brought his family out. I thought it was a big deal, because he just told me the great deal his wife found to get him out here. So it's not as impressive as it was. But he is volunteering to do this. He didn't have to do this. He's on a family vacation. He's taking time out of his schedule. And I really respect that. And I appreciate his accomplishments, because last year his team sold over 600 transactions and had over $265 million in sales. And the most impressive thing about that to me is he just started real estate in 2019.
So the team in 19. I'll tell that story. Yeah.
Exact story, but it's incredibly impressive to me. So let's let Dylan tell the story. Come on up, Dylan.
All right. Thank you guys. Awesome. Thanks, my man.
Take care.
I'm gonna turn this around so I can see it this other way. Should I stand on this side or that side? Camera lady. All right. Well, thank you guys for having me. This is always super cool. I'm gonna build on what Tony was just talking about, the importance of being in the room, right? There's a big takeaway from all of this and all the stuff I'm gonna share today is that it all really started from getting in rooms like this and being around people that thought bigger than I ever thought, that were doing things bigger than I thought were ever possible. And so now that I'm in a position, blessed to be in a position to give back, I think it's super, super important to do that, because somebody did that for me years ago and it totally changed my life and totally changed my business. So that's a big, important part about being in rooms like this is I recently got to speak at an event, and I went to that event years ago, and I felt like I didn't belong there, like it was people that are way above my level and I was out of their league. And then I realized a few short years later, the only reason I get to speak to that room is because I went into that room not feeling like I should have been there, right? And so that's kind of the progression that happens. And what's so cool about these events, you get to meet people like Tony. That's the only connection we've had is meeting through real estate events. And so it's definitely enriched my business and my life and had lots of new friendships. So super cool to have you guys here, and thank you for taking the time to come and hear the story. So I'm gonna start with just quick background. I don't wanna spend too much time on this, but just so you kind of see the progression, because everybody sees where you're at and they think you were like born that way, but it's really been a 20-year story of overnight success, right? So I was born and raised in Kona. I still live there. In '99, I was a wayward kid. I didn't know what to do with my life, so I did join the Marine Corps. I thought that'd be a good idea. And that ended in 2003. After we invaded Iraq, I came home and I met my wife on leave from Iraq and I made a strategic decision that I had a girl going to college on the other side of my island, so that's what I was gonna do after the Marines. So that's how I ended up back on the Big Island, and I went to UH Hilo. That led to a job in Hawaii politics. I got involved in student government, and so I ended up working for the governor right after college. And then I did that for about 10 years, and it was something that I was passionate about, but it wasn't providing really like the income and the lifestyle I wanted for my family. I had 2 little boys at the time, and I was gone half the time. And so I got my real estate license when I was in college. My mom had been a broker for years, and she forced me to get my license. I just listened to her one summer and went to class with her. But it wasn't something I thought I wanted to do in life. And then after the run in politics, I was reevaluating what to do in life, and I went to an Army school. I was now in the Army Reserve, and I went for a school that was like 5 months long. And I came home planning just to kind of chill out for 30 days and spend time with the family because I'd been gone for 5 months. And I go to lunch with my mom one day, and she says, "Hey, you ever think about reactivating your real estate license and doing real estate? I kind of want to slow down and maybe hand some of the business off and move towards retirement." And I was like, "Nah, I don't think so, Mom. I'm not really into real estate." And then I go home that night, and my wife and I watch the TV, and she says, "Hey, you ever think about doing real estate again?" And I'm like, "Do you talk to my mom?" And she's like, "No." And I just don't believe there's coincidences like that in life, right? That was a sign. So I said, "You know what? I'll do the classes to reactivate my license. We'll see what happens." And so again, not a super strategic decision. I didn't have like this plan or anything. But in 2015, I basically just went to work. I went to work every day. I got my license, and I just started going to work with my mom and my stepdad. They were at a long-standing Coldwell Banker franchise in Kona, and everything was hunky-dory. The first 3 years, I was a moderately successful agent. I'd sell 20 properties a year, do 9 or 10 million in volume, and our franchise got bought. And as life works out and fate has it, the new owners of the franchise I just didn't really jive with from just a vibe and cultural kind of standpoint. And so I had just gotten my broker's license. I was thinking, okay, I can go out and start my own brokerage. And I started looking at that and researching that. A KW franchise wanted to open on the Big Island, and so I was talking to the brokers about that, potentially being the broker for that office. And then I stumbled across EXP. And how many are EXP people? Is almost everybody EXP people? Okay, not everybody. So I stumbled across the EXP model, so you're familiar with that. And I was like, this is what I would hope real estate was culturally and just from a big picture business model. And so there was no EXP on my island. There was a couple of people on Oahu, and I decided I'm gonna go give this a shot. Hopefully it works out. It could be a total scam. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna give it a shot. And so that was in December of 18. So I came over by myself in December of 18. I had gotten my brother licensed about a year prior to that. And so he was kind of the first one that came with me, and a couple of friends came with me that were just waiting for me to figure out what I was gonna do. And so that started in 18, and then in 23, we ended the year the number 1 team in Hawaii, and that's of all brokerages. And then we're number 11 in the whole entire company of EXP, 90,000 agents. So it's a mind-blowing 5 years, right? Yeah. Now, so I'm gonna tell you how that all happened. So this is kind of the quick growth trajectory, right? So at the end of 2019, friends kept joining. So at the end of 2019, there was like 12 of us, and we did 95 units and 43 million. And then in 2020, there was more friends that kept joining. So it really wasn't this is not revenue. I mean, most of this is revenue share group, but it was just people that kind of joining our sales team. It was just a self-organized team. We didn't really have a lot of processes and systems, and people just kept wanting to be a part of what we were doing. So they kept joining. And so 20 was an okay year. It was COVID, right? Hawaii was shut down. So we had a little bit of growth in 2020. And then in 2021, we had this humongous rocket ship that took off in 2021. A lot of it is due to my wife, who was a school teacher for 16 years. I don't know if I convinced her, I don't know how, but she came to work with us, not for us, right? So she came to work with us on the team. She's not a realtor, but she came with that educational background and started managing me better, putting systems into place, creating educational content that was actually made sense and was well thought through and was coming from a beginner's mindset. So we had a lot of growth in 2021 because of just the structure that we put into place. And then in 2022, that growth continued. We did 197 million and 520 units. We got up to 72 agents. And then in 23, we ended at 268 million, 607 units. And then we just cracked 100 agents at the end of 23. So crazy. I mean, it's been a wild ride over 5 years, and it seems like it's fast. But if I think back on it, it was like really slow, and there's a lot of grind, and there's a lot of lessons learned, and a lot of mistakes. And so we're gonna go through all that today. All right. Okay, so I kind of broke this up. I'm a systems kind of minded person, so I kind of broke it up into 3 pillars. And my slides are like not exciting, right? I'm just a text-based, like the slides are to keep me on track because I can go all over the place. So the first thing, anytime we're talking about team, and depending on where you want to go in your business, right? Even if you're going to bring on an assistant or just a couple of buyer's agents, Tony was talking about adding 1 more transaction a month, which is always the goal. But what about adding 10 more a month, right? You got to do some different things to do that. And I read a book called the 10X is Easier Than 2X. Have you guys ever heard of this book? It's a great book. And one of the key takeaways with that is that to increase your business by 10%, or just double your business, there's probably 50 things you can do. But if you want to 10x your business and really scale it, like there's only a couple of things you can do. So if you really put time and energy into that, it's almost easier to 10x your business than it is to double it, right? That's the whole premise behind the book and business. And so that's really what's happened, right? I mean, there's a ton of things I could have done from going from 20 to 40 transactions, but there's not that many things. And this may seem simplistic, but they're simplistic in terms of like the buckets of things you got to work on, but there's lots of stuff inside of it, right? And so you just got to take it kind of one step at a time. But so the first pillar that looking back on this, which again wasn't totally by design, but I look back and it was super important, is because it started with my family, my mom, my stepdad, and my brother. Like I just put a culture code together on paper about how we would treat each other, how we would operate in a business sense, because I just never wanted the business to get in between the family relationship. I thought that was important. And so that has just continued on, and everybody that joins, it's the first thing they do is, if you don't agree with the culture code, what's happening? Come on in. If you don't jive with the culture code, then you probably shouldn't join, right? Like if any of that doesn't make sense to you, then it's not gonna be a good fit. And then we figured out what is the mission, right? And this is like our mission statement, to provide a service to our clients that is second to none while enjoying the high quality of life that real estate career provides. Pretty simple, right? I mean, if we can look back on the client always being the North Star, the client always being the priority, and that's gonna result in us having a great quality of life. And if we can always go back to that mission and be clear about that, and hopefully that drives everything else that we do when we make from a decision-making standpoint. Those are like the 2 foundational things you need. And then the 12 principles, and I'll talk, I'm not gonna show these to you, but you can go on our website, theagencyteamhawaii.com. It's at the bottom. It's things like no greed, it's things like constant communication, it's things like take responsibility, just general types of principles, but they're on paper, they're written down, and there's a clear understanding. Anytime there's conflict, we can kind of look at the culture code and the principles and say, what can we apply here to solve this problem? And not have to have like tons and tons of rules and regulations, right? Just having overarching principles on how we do business. So that's kind of the foundation. Oh, did I miss something? Oh, the last thing is a value proposition. And I'm gonna talk about this real quick. This is something that I think I just talked about in Maui, and I have a whole YouTube video on this, that a lot of agents aren't real clear about, like what exactly is your value proposition? What makes you special? Everybody talks about this, but I don't know if we spend enough time. There's a super cool AI prompt that I can send you guys that helps you do this through AI, where it questions you and it figures it out and then it applies it to all of your marketing going forward. But this is a big one where we have a very unique value proposition. So I'll walk you through this for the team. And this has been the mindset going forward, and how we build and then how we market to clients is being different than everybody else, right? Because in my market, there's 1,600 realtors, there's 10,000 in the entire state. There's plenty of people to choose from. We all have tons of realtors in our markets. What makes us different? So in the last year, we finally accomplished that we're a statewide operation. So one of our main value propositions is if you're looking or evaluating real estate purchase in Hawaii, we can take care of you anywhere in the state within 2 hours. Like if you want to see property in Honolulu and Kauai, we can make that happen. If you want to see Kihei and Maui, we can make that happen. And that's, even though there's statewide brokerages, there's no statewide operation that's a team that can actually make that happen. And so that's a big thing that we market as we talk about that a lot of times people are not sure where they want to be, or they're not sure if they want to be in a condo or a house, or they want to buy vacant land and build. We have agents that are experts in every single area of real estate, REOs, I mean, you name it, there's somebody on the team that can help provide expertise, so you don't have to rely on your individual agent's expertise, and hopefully they know enough to help you accomplish whatever your goals are. We got the ability to service your needs no matter your agent's availability. This was something that was always important to me as an individual agent growing into a team. Was I just never wanted to have to be available 24/7, right? Like a lot of times agents have to be, and I just thought it made more sense to have some friends, have some people that can help, share the commissions with them, and that way I can take the weekends off with my kids, or I rarely work past 3 o'clock in the afternoons. My rare afternoons I'm working after 3, but that's the kind of quality of life I want, so I gotta figure out a way to make that work, right? And this is a big one, is your agent can have that lifestyle, but still you're gonna be serviced, right? If you need to be taken care of on Sunday or after hours, there will be agents available to do that. And then now we have 130 agents across the whole state, and I always remind clients, hey, this is something that we're gonna do. If you're a buyer and you have a specific need, we're talking about that at our meetings. And if somebody knows something that's off market, or they know something that's coming up, or maybe they have a property that would work but isn't really obvious, we have a brain trust of a lot of people looking out for your interests. And then on the sell side, if you put your market on a property with us, like 30 agents are gonna show up and make social media content and talk about this thing and throw it in the newsletters and put it all over social media. It's gonna be crazy. And it just doesn't happen like that when you have like an individual agent. So that power of the group is something that's, if we're communicated properly, can be very attractive, right, to a seller. And I can talk fast, you guys. So if I'm gonna slow down and expand on anything, the group's small enough where we can do that. So just like stop me and I'll stop, because I can go fast. But I got a lot to go through. So, okay, and then some of our just unwritten foundational things, and these are like just cultural things that were never by design, but I've seen evolve over time in the past 5 years that I just found are very important. I like to talk about. So the first one is we just treat our business partners like family, right? Our original business partners were family, and I try and just come at that, and I'll talk about the principle of unconditional love at the end, but instead of treating, a lot of times we treat our business partners like they're our competition, or they're against us, and there's like all kinds of weird stuff that go through agents' minds. I just come from a place of like, hey, I'm just gonna treat you like family until you give me a reason otherwise. Paying it forward. This is a big thing that's really helped the growth of the team, especially with young agents, is in the beginning, anybody who needed help, we just stop and help them. And then when that person becomes experienced, they have this responsibility now that's unspoken, that if somebody comes in and needs help, they just stop and they help them. And it's like a pay it forward mentality that has organically grown in the culture. But it's a cool thing where you have the office, and if a couple agents are working on something and a young agent comes in and they need help on a listing, like people will stop, get on the computer with them and help them do it, even if their mentor's not there. We've got lots of other support systems in place, but that's just a cool thing that I've seen develop, where now I see agents who are just 6 months into the business but are doing well. They're like paying it forward to the next agent that's brand new. And it's just a cool cultural thing that has developed that is super important. And then this is maybe the most foundational thing, is the abundance mindset. I preach this all the time, but this is something that in the real estate space is like scarcity mindset to the max, right? Like everybody's like your competition. If you win, I lose. And we just don't subscribe to that. I mean, I think we can all win together. I think there's plenty enough business. I can show this mathematically in every single market where people think it's a very competitive market. But really, if you look at how many agents are actually doing business and how many transactions there are, you don't have to look at the total agent count, right? You got to look at the top 10, 15, 20% that are actually doing business, and there's really not that much competition. There's plenty of business for those top 10 or 15%. You just got to be one of them, right? So if you go in with that mindset that we can all, the rising tide raises all ships, it changes the way we kind of treat each other and the way we view the world. All right, pillar 2. So that's all kind of foundational philosophical stuff, right? About culture and how we treat each other and how we view the world and our mindset. So this is like the nitty gritty business stuff, and not as exciting and fancy, but another thing that I see all the time in business is like realtors just don't treat their business like a business, right? They want it to be a job, or they just kind of want to go willy-nilly and not have a plan and just fly by the seat of their pants, and that's why their business never grows. So this doesn't seem like rocket science here, but this is one of the biggest things that has helped us scale. Is we're always looking to hire and build for where we're going and not where we are. And I think this is a thing that holds a lot of agents back, is that they wait till they have too much business before they hire an assistant, but they don't hire an assistant because they have too much business to train the assistant. And so it's like a conundrum, right? Where it's like, then you just get on the hamster wheel of always not having enough time. So it's it works not only with hiring, but it also works with your systems. I tell agents, foundational thing in the beginning, get an accounting system. Act like you actually have money that you have to account for, right? It's like a fake it till you make it kind of thing. But if you wait till you have a lot of cash flow and a lot of expenses and then you don't have an accounting system, now you have issues with taxes and you have all kinds of other issues to fix it. So start from the beginning, build your systems, simple stuff like accounting, but also database, marketing systems. Act like you have a bigger business than you actually do. So when you grow into having that big business, it's all there and it's not something that you got to catch up on and go back to. So building for where you're going and not where you're at. And then we're always told this, but so many people don't do it, right? We actually like write down our goals and we do it with everybody. We have the whole entire team do this every year, twice a year. And that way we have a clear understanding. One of our overarching like goals within the team is we don't have like production standards, but I want to make sure that I understand what your personal goals are. If you're a full-time mom and you just want to do 5 or 6 deals a year as a side hustle, we want to help you do that. If you want to be a top producer and do 50, we want to help you do that. But I got to know clearly what your goals are, honestly what your goals are to help you do that. So we do this as a group and as a team, and then we can kind of see as a team, what should our goals be for next year? Because everybody's contributing to that. It's not my personal idea of what we should be aiming for. How's it going? Yeah. Come on in. All right. Okay, so the next piece of the building the business is documenting everything. I'm a huge believer in templates. Anything that you do once, you should never do twice. I mean, like I rarely write emails because they're all templated. I just cut and paste and maybe change a couple of things. I mean, this is true of everything that we do with contracts, with marketing material, you name it, there's a template for it. And then that makes it really easy to give to teammates, right? When team members join, they have this whole document library of templates that they can use to make their life easier and then make them more efficient so they don't have to do stuff over and over and over again. Standard operating procedures. This is probably a military thing, but I love step-by-step instructions on how to do anything that's important, right? So I could take anybody, I could take my 15-year-old and say, hey, here's what you gotta do. And it's like, step 1, do this, here's the link. Step 1, do this, here's the link. Step 2, here's the form. And you just can go through and take a brand new agent, give them the resources, and if they're halfway intelligent, like they'll be able to figure stuff out very, very quickly, and it takes the burden off of having a mentor have to sit down with them or a broker sit down with them. And so anything that you can do, it seems daunting, but if you really want to duplicate your business, this is like the number one thing you got to do is write down everything that you do the way you do it. So when you bring somebody on, they can do it the way you expect it to be done. And there's no misunderstanding. The expectations are clear. And it can be hard, but it's definitely, the dividends are like 100 times over when you actually take the time to do it and actually just create a standard operating procedure. And then you boil it down into a checklist. So once the agent does it, goes through an SOP 3 or 4 times, they're gonna understand the process. And now they just need a checklist to go through and make sure they don't miss any steps, right? So it's kind of a condensed SOP that makes it easier, reference document that they can go through and fulfill that process. And then this is an elephant, right? This is this can be daunting. My advice is just do like one thing a week or one thing a month. Like just start with one thing, and the next thing you know, over 12 months, you're gonna have this humongous set of resources that then you can give to somebody else or just implement in a team. I can tell you this has been an ongoing process. Like we didn't have all of this in place. It sounds like we have it all together. It's like constantly we're like, oh my goodness, we never thought about this. Or my wife will identify that agents are having trouble with something which all of the leadership thinks is second nature because we've just been doing it for 10 years, right? And so then we're like, okay, we gotta make an SOP for that. So this is a constantly evolving thing. We have to change them based on market conditions and other things. So once you have it, easy to shift, but just start one bite at a time, right? Because it can be daunting to say, well, I gotta do all of these things, write all this stuff down. But if you just make a goal, 1 hour a week, and just spend time, I'm gonna go through my listing process, or I'm gonna go through my buyer consultation process, or even like, how do you get a listing actually on the market, right? At what point do you call the photographer? At what point do you call the stager? At what point do you input it into MLS? It's all stuff that if you've been doing the business for a while, you take for granted, but if you had to take somebody off the street, could you give them a document that would walk them through all of that and do it exactly the way that you want it done? So, SOPs, all right. And then team engagement, this is the next really powerful thing that has helped us keep everything together and streamlined is tons of training. I think a lot of times leaders and teams, once they get things going, and I'll talk about at the end, like working harder before you work less, is they want to do less, right? They want to work less, so then they get like disengaged. And engagement with the team, especially in the digital world we live in, is actually easier than it's ever been because of the digital world. You can get 50 or 60 agents into a digital room and conduct a training where it would be very hard to get them to come to an office space, or especially when you're geographically dispersed like you guys are in this market. It's way easier nowadays, but you just got to have that cadence and that schedule of constant trainings. And so some of the stuff that we do throughout the week, we have a crazy training schedule, like on a weekly basis. On Mondays, we do a transaction meeting, then an agent attraction meeting, then a new agent onboarding meeting, then a database meeting. On Tuesdays, we have a scripts call. On Wednesdays, we have our main sales meeting with all the islands. Thursdays, usually an in-person training. We'll travel to each island and do it in person once a month with the agents there. Friday, we have a tech call. So there's all, like this weekly trainings happen every single week. So there's tons of engagement. And then once a month, we do in-person trainings, and once a quarter, we do a big mastermind workshop where people bring all their computers in, and we actually work on their listing presentation or their drip campaigns in their database, and sit down and work on their computers and help them develop stuff. So tons and tons of training and engagement, but that's the thing that keeps people together and they don't fall off the map, right? Because a lot of times you bring a new agent on, and next thing you know, you haven't heard from them in 2 months, and then they're gone. They quit, or they go somewhere else, or you lose track of them. So lots and lots of engagement. And then the weekly meetings, I just talked about this, but I do like to talk about our specific Wednesday meeting at 10 a.m. that this wasn't by I don't even know how we came up with this, but we started this thing with just like, 5 or 6 of us on a weekly basis talking about what's going on in the market. But we always started with wins and gratitudes. So the meeting starts with positive energy, right? You got to talk about something that you're grateful for or something that you accomplished. It's a big win. And now this turned into like 30 minutes. Like it's hard to get this thing stopped because there's like so many, 50, 60 agents are there and they're all talking about their wins and their gratitudes. And sometimes you think it can be like people don't care, but I think the amount of positive energy that comes out of it, and agents come like just for that because they're struggling. Sometimes they're struggling, they're having a hard time, they're having a bad day, and you can show up on Wednesday and you'll be injected with like a massive amount of positive energy to kind of carry you through the weekend and the next week. So from a content standpoint, don't discount the importance of just like mindset exercises, right? Wins and gratitudes will usually have some type of problem-solving discussion, some group coaching, we'll bring a guest speaker on, but it's not like a heavy sales meeting where we're talking about new listings and what the market data is doing and stuff like that, because I think it doesn't engage people as much as like that positive energy. And we could talk about the other stuff on the side, or a lot of times we just make videos about it to inform them so they can watch it on their free time. But think about that like from a meeting standpoint, a meeting structure. All right, and then we love the mantra of show up equals success, right? If you show up and you engage in the trainings and you engage in the process, it's almost impossible not to succeed in our system anyway, and because then we provide you with leads, which I'm gonna talk about next. But that's a big thing with agents. If you just tell them, if you just show up and you come to the training and you actually do what we ask you to do, I guarantee you'll have a transaction within the first 60 days. It's almost like gravity, but you gotta engage, right? You gotta show up. Here's a quick picture of all of it's only like a nice slide you're gonna get without a lot of text. So it's our crew on all the islands. All right, and then systems. So we have a pretty lean tech stack. Sometimes you go to these talks and people have like 17 different crazy CRMs they use and all kinds of stuff. I like to keep it simple and I like to keep it cheap. So that's my 2 guiding lights when it comes to systems. So the first one, we get KV Core for our company for free. We pay a little bit of money for a team add-on so we can put everybody on the same account and then distribute leads to the system. But we're not paying thousands of dollars a month for a CRM. I think all CRMs are relatively the same. Some people have preferences, but at the end of the day, if you use it and use it at a high level, they're all gonna accomplish the same thing for you. So that's our database system, and we use that for lead generation and lead conversion. I'll talk more about that in a second. SkySlope is transaction management, also provided by the company, so it's all paperless. The digital signatures are built into it. Not doing anything above and beyond what the company provides us for free. And then Google Workspace. This is our whole entire business is built upon Google Workspace. So Google Sites, Google Drive, Google Docs. This is a Google slide deck that we're looking at right now. That's relatively cheap when you look at paying for an enterprise account. You can minimize the number of users because nowadays you can just share access with people in their personal Gmail accounts. But it's definitely worthwhile to get an expert in Google Workspace or become an expert in it because there's so many resources. And you can create forms, people can input data at an open house, it automatically goes into a spreadsheet, which can zap over to your CRM or zap over into your email program. I mean, it's very easy to do, very low cost, and relatively low labor. And then chat, this is one of the biggest things that, again, not by design, but Google, inside of Gmail, there's a chat function. I don't know if you guys use this, but you can put 100 people on a group chat. It's a group text messaging inside of Gmail. And we started doing this just as a way to, instead of doing group text messages, because as a team grew, scaling text messages, you can't send 100 text messages at a time. It's turned into this crazy thing where it's like Google for real estate. So if you have a question about real estate, you put it in the chat and somebody will answer it, right? Because you got an expert in every single area of real estate in the whole entire state. And so if you want a handyman in some obscure area, you just put, anybody know a handyman in Ocean View? And somebody will respond. And this has been a humongous resource to agents, because now you have this place where instead of calling a broker or trying to figure it out or actually Googling it the real way, you just put it in the chat and somebody responds. And then this is another way that we service clients, where if you get a client that wants to see property this afternoon, but you got a soccer game with your kids, you just put in the chat, hey, can anybody show property this afternoon? Somebody will raise their hand and say, yep, I got you, and they'll take care of it, and your client will be serviced, and you don't have to worry about it. So that's one of the communication forms that we use that has become a pillar of the whole tech stack, which was never by design. It was just
Is that just for your team, the chat, or does that go beyond your?
No, so it's anybody has it inside of Gmail, you have to turn it on.
Brokerage outside.
Anybody can, yeah. So I can add my lenders to it, and then you can do different chats. So we have the whole team chat, and then I have Oahu team chat, Maui team chat, Kauai team chat. I have the Big Island broken into 2 separate. So if you just want to talk to people in your market, or it only applies to your islands, yeah. Or if some agents have a couple of, they have like squads within the team where they have a couple of buyers just to help them, so they can have their own chat. So it's a super cool communication tool. All right. And then we use Canva. Canva is like the new standard for graphic design in real estate, right? And then systems like Redx and Mojo, those are data systems. So Redx will give you expireds, FSBOs, pre-foreclosures, things like that. Mojo will give you, you can search an area and it'll give you all the phone numbers and email addresses. Not all, it's usually 50% of the homes will have contact information associated with it, and then 50% will be correct. So if you want to prospect an area or just look somebody up, it's a good resource. It's relatively cheap to have access to data, and if you want to call a seller or you got something, you're looking for something off market specifically, you can use that system to find that stuff. Another thing we use it for, which is cool, which is really easy, is you can take a neighborhood, put all the email addresses, do a video CMA, and then email it to all of the owners, right? And just be like, hey, did this for your neighbor, thought you might be interested, and send it to them, and prospect that way. Really simple. You can touch hundreds of people with one video, one piece of work by pulling contact information from these systems. All right. And then big lesson learned is don't be wed to one system. We've actually had a lot more stuff in the past, and we're like, this is expensive, we're not really using it, does this make sense, should we switch? And so that's a big thing is I think it's hard when you get ingrained using one thing to maybe understand at some point you've outgrown it. So that's a big lesson learned, is just be wed to your spouse and not the system, right? All right, so that's pillar 2 is systems, all of those processes. And then pillar 3 is choke leads. Anybody know what choke leads means? This is huh?
Not heard that one.
Okay, this is like Hawaiian pidgin language. Okay, choke means plenty, lots of, like you're choking on it, right? Like choke leads. So it's a joke. It's a joke that we have amongst the team, but that's our code word for our lead programs. Is our goal with leads is to provide choke leads, right? Choke leads. So okay, so the issue is, and we are primarily online lead generators, and people say, well, the leads suck, right? And you always hear this from agents. No matter what lead source they get, everybody says the lead sucks, right? But then I always ask, or is it you, right? Because it's probably not the leads, it's probably you. So we can solve this problem by just doing stuff the right way, because I don't believe any lead sucks. And no leads equals death in any business, right? And choke leads will solve all of your problems in life. So we're gonna go through, this is probably the thing that we do best, I think, in terms of just business, because if we can do everything wrong, if you can generate a lot of leads and do a half decent job of following up with them, you're gonna get business, right? It's automatic. So before you generate leads, this is a big thing. Everybody's wants to know how to generate leads, where do I get them from, and all this kind of stuff. And I always say, before you do any of that, you got to do these things first, right? The first one is you have to have a follow-up system. Think about, document, what is your follow-up system comprised of? Because if you generate a lead with no follow-up system, the lead is a complete waste of time. There's no reason to spend any money or any effort on a lead that you don't have a long-term follow-up plan designed for. So this is very clear, right? How many times do you call them, text them, email them, and then what kind of system do you put them on so that we talk to them forever? And I'll talk in more detail about that. Are you retargeting them on social media and on Google? Those systems are way more important than actually lead generation, because you can generate way less leads and convert more if you have the systems in place first. So focus on that first. And then identify your value proposition. We talked about this in the beginning. What are you telling the lead, right? If you generate leads and you have a good system, but you don't have anything to tell them on why they should work with you, why are they gonna convert, right? So that's another pillar you have to figure out, is what is your value proposition? And then you gotta develop valuable content. This is probably, the hardest or the most uncomfortable thing. I believe heavily in video. If you can generate a library of video content that's valuable to your market, that's what you'll use for all of this, and I'll talk about how that all works and what we do. But you have to generate content that's not AI-based and not, something that you bought from some vendor that will give you an automated email, once a week or whatever. But like actually valuable content about your marketplace that somebody is going to care about and actually consume, right? So that's a huge one, is developing valuable content. It's hard, but again, one bite at a time. If you develop one, the way I started with video was, I'm notoriously lazy person, and I was like, I keep getting asked the same 5 questions about Hawaii real estate. Like, what lava zone is it in? What's a leasehold property? Like stuff that's specific to our market. And so I just decided, you know what, if I just shoot a video on this, every time I get asked a question, I'm gonna email them the video instead of calling them or emailing them back, right? So that was not my pure intent, but I was like, that's why I started doing video. And then I thought, I read somewhere that you got to be consistent. So I'm like, is there 50 questions I could answer? Because then that would be 1 year of content. And then I wrote down 50 questions of things I could answer. And I'm like, yeah, I have 50 questions. And then so I just made 1 video a week for a year. And that started 8 years ago. And I've been doing it ever since. I mean, there's been hundreds and hundreds of videos that we put out. And then it's turned into a huge library that we use to retarget leads. So we'll get there with more on that. Defining what a lead is to you. I have this discussion all the time amongst agents. Agents say they want more leads, but they really don't want more leads. They just want more deals and paychecks, right? Because they don't really want to do the work that it takes to convert a lead, right? So being very clear of what your understanding of a lead is can better prepare you to target the right type of lead, right? Because if you want a lead that converts at a very high level, like doing internet lead generation is probably not the thing, because you're not going to see the return. It's gonna disappoint you. But this is something I don't think we put enough time and energy into, is like really thinking about what does a lead mean to me, so I can define what the process will look like when I actually work the lead. So think about that, and then you can figure out, okay, what is the best place I should be going and looking for leads based on what you think a lead is and how much work you're willing to put into it. And then write all this down. Write it all down. Document it all, write it all down, so you have it, and you can then share it with your team or your assistant or your buyer's agent or your referral partner or whoever it is, so they have a very clear understanding of what your expectations are and what your process is and what you would have done when you asked them to do it for you. Okay, now let's talk about lead sources. How are we doing on time? Doing okay on time? All right. Social media is probably the easiest place to get leads right now. If you just do advertising, you pay for boosted posts. You don't have to be like a social media star to generate a lot of leads on social media using the ad platforms. Relatively easy to figure out. There's not a lot of science behind it on the real estate side, because Meta, right, that owns Google, Facebook and Instagram, restricts how you can target people based on fair housing, right? So a lot of times there's just a let them figure it out. You check that box, you make real estate content, you let Meta figure it out, because they know who's looking for real estate, right? And you put that stuff out. You can do it relatively low cost. I mean, anywhere from a couple dollars a lead to like $10 a lead on the high end, but you can generate a lot of leads with a small amount of money just using the built-in platforms. You can pretty much learn how to do it in 10 minutes on YouTube. It's not super hard to figure out how to do if you want to start with social media advertising. And then of course the organic stuff. Again, you can use your valuable content that you've been generating on video to target people and post on social media, which is then going to generate leads off of social media too. So social is the first one. Google pay-per-click. Again, there's lots of different ways to do this. I would just pay somebody to do it. Like, don't figure it out. Don't be a Google expert. Just pay somebody to manage an ad campaign. And again, you got to kind of think about, and AI can help you with this now, is figuring out what kinds of things are going to attract the right kind of people to click on your ad. But get a professional to help on this, and it's relatively, this can get expensive, right? 50, 60 bucks a lead based on your market and how competitive it is. But that's another great place. Referral partners, this is a big one. This is why I go to events and I go to national events and I'm in Tom Ferry coaching and all those things is you build national referral partners. And this turns into just a huge lead source for the team because when people think Hawaii and they've seen me at an event, like I'm the first guy they're gonna call, right? So it's a really easy way to have inbound lead generation is just through national networks. So it may seem expensive to fly to another city and pay for the cost of an event, but if you get one referral out of that event, it pays for itself 3 times over, and over the course of years, you're gonna get many, many more. So spend the time building a national network. YouTube is by far the best. Kind of talked about video already, but real quick on the way the system works that we've built is I post a video once a week about real estate in Hawaii. In the description, there's plenty of calls to action. So there's a way to book a meeting. There's lots of different landing pages for different types of property searches. And if you book a meeting with me, you fill out a form, and then based on the form, my leads manager will look at what the person is looking for and then figure out the profile that best matches on the agent side, and we'll do a 3-way call with the lead because they want to talk to me, right? They've been watching me on YouTube, but I'm not going to actually show them property or do anything. So then I have the client come on, I say, hey, Tony's the expert in this area. He's gonna help you. He's gonna show you property when you come to town. We do the handoff and then they take the lead from there. It's like the easiest conversion ever because they've been watching you for 6 months. They know, like, and trust you. There's no needing to, your value proposition is already proven and they're great. You'll attract, here's the thing that I like was like mind-blowing to me is you attract good people. Because if they don't like your personality and how you come off on video, they're not gonna call you, right? So you don't get somebody that you have a personality conflict with because you're only gonna attract your vibe, right? Your vibe will attract your tribe. And that's a really,
Nice.
yeah, you don't realize that until it actually happens and you like meet the greatest people and you make the greatest friends off of YouTube. So it's weird, they think you're like a TV star and you're like just a YouTube, you just post videos on YouTube, but. We're Zillow Flex partners, so this is something that's not necessarily available to everybody, but that's a huge lead source for us. We did 130 transactions for like 60 million just off of Zillow last year, so we're big believers in that. I know people have different opinions about Zillow, but not only the leads, but they provide amazing training for our agents that has really helped in all areas of the business. Their scripts are second to none, their processes are second to none because they have so much money invested in making sure that we convert leads. And so, Zillow's another one if that's available. And then industry partners. This is a big one. Evolve is a vacation, short-term vacation rental management company that's national. We have a relationship with them that if anybody wants to buy a short-term rental in Hawaii, they call us. Bigger Pockets is an investor. Anybody familiar with Bigger Pockets? Are like an investor network. We have a relationship with them, so they send us leads. The property managers, right? All the property managers who don't do sales or do short-term rentals. So just think about in the industry, in your market, like who can you build a relationship with and then create that exclusive relationship where you have a referral partner that, again, understands your process, because that's, again, your value proposition is different from a referral partner to a client, but you want to think about what your value proposition is to a referral partner so they know it, like, and trust that if they send you somebody, you're going to take care of them. Okay, and then lead conversion, we're going to go a little bit fast to the end of this here. This is the thing that I think agents are worst at in life, but it's not their fault, it's just they don't know how to do it, right? This is a skill that's learned. And so I feel like a team leader's number one financial responsibility is to help agents become experts at lead conversion. And the way we do that is through training, right? Lots of training. And now Monica handles a lot of that where she does like weekly, it's funny because she never sold a house, but like weekly she trains agents on how to convert leads on the first conversation. So you don't have to be, and you have to understand the content. You don't actually have to have ever done it, right? And that's another thing with building a team is figuring out the who, not the how. And you don't necessarily have to be the one that has done it before. And so the kind of pillars to that is asking the right questions. I don't know how much language like training you've had or stuff that you've gone to, but there's huge differences in the way you ask questions, right? And that's a big thing. Like for us, the basic script is try and book an appointment right off the bat, right? Don't ask how you're doing. Don't ask, what their name is. Try and book an appointment right off the bat. If that doesn't work, ask them what they liked about the property. Don't answer questions about the specifics because you're not going to know the answers to them. It's just going to create an awkward conversation. So ask them what they liked about it so you can collect information. And then ask them what their motivation is, right? Are they looking to retire, relocate, kids are moving here? Like, what is it? And now you can build a deeper connection with them. So it's just appointment, location, motivation. If you can ask those 3 things in a conversation, that first 3 to 5 minute conversation, you can build a quality relationship in a very short amount of time on a deeper level than like how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what's your budget, are you pre-qualified? Those types of normal questions that agents are traditionally trained to ask. Working with our lending partners, we have a pretty cool program that we're just really getting deep into right now with our lending partners, where they're deeply integrated into our system. They understand what our processes are, we know what their processes are, and so we're hitting leads from both sides. So if they say they need lending, traditionally what I was trained is like give them 3 lenders and have them call somebody. Like that is the worst possible strategy you could ever use in your life, right? Because now you're just leaving up a lead up to their own devices on what they do, and you have no idea what the process on the lending side is, because if they're busy, they're not gonna call them, or if they're busy, they're not gonna follow up with them. And so we have dedicated lenders that have a clear understanding. If we send you leads, like this is what needs to happen, and they're gonna be, here's a little thing they do, which you should train all your lenders to do, right? Is if I get a lead and Monica's my lender, I say, hey, Monica's my go-to girl in lending. She's amazing. She solves all problems. She makes magic happen. She's gonna reach out to you because I'm giving her name, address, and phone number. When she reaches out to the client answers the phone and she says, hey, this is Monica from XYZ Lending. I cannot believe that you connected with Dylan Nonaka online. He is the most amazing real estate agent in all of Hawaii, right? I mean, we do this back and forth thing, and now this lead's like, holy crap, I hit the jackpot. Like I got like the best guy in the world plus the best lender. Like how did that even happen? And so lead conversion, right? And they don't go dark on you. So little things like that can just increase your ability to generate more leads or convert more leads. And then what's your short, medium, and long-term strategy? Obviously, it's something you want to write down, but what's your first week look like? What's the next 1 to 3 months look like? And then what does 3 months and beyond look like if they don't convert right away? And then, again, systems. We're going to talk about this next, but if they don't convert right away, this is a pillar of our system, is that you will never, ever stop hearing from us. You will get a weekly video email from us forever until you die or you unsubscribe, right? So we never give up. Like we're gonna try super, super hard in the first 60 days, but if that doesn't work out, like you will get an email from me every single week forever. And if you ever convert off of one of those emails, I know what agent you are connected to because the system tracks all of that, and I'm gonna convert you back to the agent that you were originally assigned to. So don't ever give up. I mean, to me, once you get an email address, it's gold. Don't ever give up. I just had a lead convert the other day that was like 3 years old, never had ever responded to anything, and then all of a sudden it's coming to town in 2 weeks. Can you help me out like this property? Like, easy, sure, no problem, right? But 3 years ago is when the lead came in off of Facebook. And then consistent messaging and accountability. This is more for agents. I learned this from Monica. It's like teaching agents is like teaching 4th graders. Like you got to tell them the same thing over and over and over and over again. And if you said it once and you think they heard it, you're wrong. You got to say it again in a different way. Have somebody else say it in their way, and just continually message consistently over time. And sooner or later, it's going to make sense. But don't just say it once and expect them to understand. All right, and then I just talked about all of this stuff, but this is our most underrated, I think the most underrated tool is email, but this is what we do once a week is we send out a video of the week. It's a YouTube video for me about something Hawaii real estate related, and we have calls to action, right? Book a meeting with us, connect with our lending team. Any questions on that? Very simple, like not over complicated, like basically like a text box, video, and then maybe 1 or 2 new listings at the bottom, but really easy to generate. Doesn't have to be super complex, but just make sure you do it every single week. All right. These are just some examples real quick of some of the agents that are new to our team. Proof of concept, right, with all of this stuff. Julia had 3 closings since all of last year. She had 6 in January. She joined the team in Q4 last year. Latasha had 12 units in her first 8 months, 4 million in volume in her first 8 months. Soraya did 24 units and 16 million in her first 18 months. Lonnie did 30 units in her first 24 months. Keke, who was a former cell phone salesman, did 14 units in his first 12 months. We have the #1 agent in the whole entire island on the team. She did 79 transactions by herself, just completely ridiculous in like her 4th year in real estate. And there's plenty more, right? So this is the coolest thing that I like to brag about is like the proof of concept of like these agents actually showing up, doing the work, and actually crushing in a very short amount of time. And so I think these are the last 2 slides. Here's the truth, right? Because all of it sounds amazing and great and like rainbows. But this is the truth. If you're gonna go on the journey of like building a team and building an operation like this, is you're gonna do way more work before you do less. I mean, I'm kind of at a point now where I'm pretty pretty good. Like I don't work super crazy, but there was a time when it was like I was doing 30, 40 transactions a year myself, plus building the team and working at night and figuring it out. So just there's a lot of sacrifice, right? The first 3-4 years it can be ugly, but if you're gonna get there, that's kind of what you gotta do. So just mentally prepare yourself for that. Be ready to spend your own money. Everything's gonna do this for free. Like there was years I'd spend 100 grand on my own money, building systems, buying leads, figuring stuff out, paying for office space. Like the team wasn't necessarily making a ton of money, but I knew where we were going, right? I knew that one day it would work out. So be prepared to spend your own money. You're gonna face tons of challenges. Like if you don't like conflict and challenges and all that kind of stuff, it's a tough road to go down. You're gonna constantly feel unappreciated, right? You're gonna do stuff, you're gonna pour into people, and then they're just gonna leave and go to a different company, or they're gonna like just quit on you, or whatever it is. And it's like it's the nature of the beast, and you cannot take that stuff personally. It's gonna happen. So just be prepared to feel unappreciated. You're gonna face, this is a big one. You're gonna face teammates, family, friends that just aren't gonna share your vision, and you gotta come to the realization that that's okay. We can still be friends if we don't share the same vision. I've had really good friends leave the team because they just didn't want it to be this big, right? And I'm like, that's okay. I mean, that's cool. Like we can still be friends, but your vision isn't gonna hold me back from my vision. And we just gotta have that mutual understanding. And then repeat yourself over and over. We already covered this. All right. And then some secret sauce. So this is somewhat some mindset stuff, but if there's secret sauce to any of this, these are the ones I can share with you guys. Employees versus partners. Huge limiting factor that I see in the real estate space is everybody wants to hire the cheapest person for the least amount of money, right? And that gets you a very low quality person, and it's not a way to scale an organization. So this is a crazy thing. This is a secret. Like we have 0 employees, 130 agents, and we don't have any employees. Everybody's a partner. Everybody gets a cut of production, right? So if you have a area of responsibility, you're a leader, you manage a program, you do something, you get a cut of production. And so everybody's a partner, right? Everybody's in it together. These are all people that are I value potential over experience. Sometimes we're looking for the person that has all of the credentials, and they're not the person that you need. You need the person that has the potential to become that person and is gonna be a partner and not an employee. You need people who are dedicated to the process versus the outcome. This is a huge thing that I learned recently, right? Is the Super Bowl winning team, everybody wants to be on the Super Bowl winning team, but nobody wants to be on the team that practices 7 days a week, twice a day, right? That's the stuff, the process is what leads to the Super Bowl, not the game when you actually play the Super Bowl, right? It's the practice in private that leads to the praise in public. And it's a hard thing to identify, but it's easy, I think, in an interview process to figure out, what is this person really interested in? Are they interested in doing the work, building the processes, buying into the system, or they just want to make $1 million at the end of the year, right? So think about process versus outcome. Don't assume, this is a huge learning factor for me, is I always thought I knew what my superstars would look like. I knew the avatar of what the top performing realtor would be, or a manager on the team, or whatever it was, and I've been slapped in the face many, many times where some of the best, most critical people on our team are people that I would have never imagined that I would have to work with. And so I think being humble about that, being inclusive about that is something that's important when you go into the stage of actually building team and hiring people, is be open-minded, and they may not look like what you think they should look like. Trust people until they give you a reason not to. This is hard, I think, in life, just because we go through life and people are mean to us, but this is a pillar I go into, is I'm gonna give you 100% of my trust until you give me a reason not to. And I think people will perform at a much higher level for you if they think you're coming from a place of trust versus a place of suspicion or micromanagement or whatever it is. So that's more of a leadership principle, but think about that when, I think it's a hard mindset to get past, but it opens you up to some violation at some point, but the benefit far outweighs the cost, right, in terms of the culture that you'll build amongst the team. Leaders Eat Last is a great book by Simon Sinek, if you want to read it, but this is a military principle, right? When the chow comes, the highest ranking person eats last. You make sure all of your people are taken care of before you take care of yourself, and I think that translates into business, and people will feel that. And so think about that when you're decision making. Is this to benefit me, or is this to benefit the others on the team first? And then if there's benefit to me in the end, usually it's greater if you think about the other folks first, but think about eating last. Make sure everybody else is fed before you make your plate. This is one of my favorites, don't let 1% problems stop you from doing the 99% benefit thing, right? So I use social media as a perfect example. In Hawaii, if you post about real estate, you post on social media about real estate, you will get a hater who says you're like selling the Hawaiians land and you're a terrible person. But you'll also get 99 leads. So should you care about the one hater? right? Like people will stop posting on social media because of one hater. And I'm like, but you got 99 leads. Like why just block the person and delete the comment and move on, right? But so often we're driven, our actions are driven by what we're afraid of, that 1% thing that we're afraid of versus the 99% benefit we're gonna get out of it. Just like when we go door knocking, right? Well, somebody yelled at me, but you got 3 listings out of it. Like who cares, right? Like the person, one person yelled at you because you went door knocking. So it's a perspective thing that I'm always telling agents about, because I always get the what if, and I'm like, never mind the what if, just do the thing that's gonna make you money. And then practice unconditional love. This goes back to kind of leaders eating last, but business is like the only place I see people that have zero tolerance. Like somebody will like do a little tiny minor mistake and they will cut them off for life and never talk to them again in business. It's a crazy, especially in real estate. And so I've always go back to like, let's practice a little bit of unconditional love. Like if you treated your family like you treated your real estate relationships, like you would have no family, right? And you have to have grace, you gotta forgive, give people the benefit of the doubt. It's just something that, again, builds, I think, a stronger culture, but let people make mistakes, trust them, and it's okay that they made mistakes, and just let them know that you're coming from a place of love, and it changes the whole dynamic of the way people will go out there and take risks and take initiative and do the things that you need them to do. So before you cut them off and be mad at them and say, hell with you, never gonna use you, never gonna talk to you again, well, just think about, is this unconditional love? Because might help. And the last thing, speak your intentions out loud. People are really humble. In Hawaii, we're like taught to be really humble and not show off. But this is something that's huge. That girl I talked about that did 79 transactions, she talked about this at a speech she did about, she speaks her intentions out loud about what she wants to be. She's 26 years old and she wants to be the #1 realtor, sell 100 houses. And she says that stuff. It's audacious in our market for somebody to ever say that, but she did it, right? And so I've learned from that. I've learned from somebody very young and new in the business. And so this is an example of this. I don't think it's gonna load, but we just did this Maui event. There's this mastermind event in Maui. And this is a video that didn't load in 2023. So February of 23, I got to speak at this event and talked about the team and some similar things we're talking about today. And in the middle of that talk, I talked about how we ended 22 as the number 20 team in EXP. And the #1 team leader was in the audience. And I told him, hey, Kenny, I'm coming for you, right? Like he was in the audience. From stage, I told him, right? And then this is the leaderboard in January. So year to date in January, we're the #1 team in the entire nation for units sold. So, and this is crazy because I'm sitting at the event 1 year later, and I look at this every other day or so because I'm obsessed with this kind of stuff, right? And I had no idea, but I looked and I'm like, well, how are we doing year to date? And I look and we're #1, and I remember this video. So I put this slide together to show people like, you have to speak it out loud. You have to tell your friends, you have to tell your family, like don't keep your goals and your dreams to yourself, because if you don't put it out into the universe, it's never really gonna happen, right? And even if it sounds crazy and it sounds audacious, speak it out loud, speak your intentions, and they're gonna become the truth. So, all right. Your last slide. Kina ole. Everybody say kina?
Kina.
Ole.
Ole.
Kina?
Kina.
Ole. All right, so this is a Hawaiian principle. And Hawaiian words are really, really cool. So you're gonna get your Hawaiian lesson of the day. There's like the literal translation to Hawaiian words, and there's like a poetic and philosophical translation to Hawaiian words. And so kina ole, in a direct translation, kina is like flaw, and ole is like without. So without flaw, like flawless, right? It's kind of the way you could literally translate kina ole. But this is what it means philosophically and poetically. I'll do the right thing in the right way at the right time in the right place to the right person for the right reasons and with the right feeling the first time I do it. And I think this is a principle, right? That if we can adhere to kina ole, like then the world will be a better place and our businesses will be great, right? So, all right. So with that, you guys, that's my contact information. You can get all of my links on that QR code. If you friend me on Instagram and just send me a quick DM, I'll send you the slides and whatever else I can do to ever help you guys, just let me know and I'm there. Do we want to do questions? Are we over time? What are we at? We're right at an hour, so.
Anybody has to go ahead, but I would love for you to answer some questions.
Yeah.
For these wonderful people. Chris, do you have any questions for Dylan?
No, love it.
I have a question. So, what is one thing that you struggled with developing your business in the islands? Do you feel that it was centralized and it was hard to expand? Have you expanded outside the islands, or you?
I just thought about this, so I have the answer. I've thought about this answer. So in the beginning, I did think it was a challenge. right? And then I shifted it into thinking as an opportunity because, and this is boiled into our value proposition where, yes, we're geographically isolated. Yes, it's a small market, but it's also, the opportunity was that it's a small market and we're geographically isolated and we could dominate that local market by having a strong value proposition, by being experts, building a team of, most realtors in Hawaii don't look like me. Like they're like retired people that come from California, right? So leaning in on that, and if you want a locally born expert, we have a team of people that can provide that service. So really just leaning in on what made us special, what made us unique. So there's its challenges, but I think again going back to like overall market potential, there's 5,000 transactions that happen in my market every year. We're doing 600 of them. Why can't we get to 1,200? You know what I mean? Like there's like tons and tons of business. So to me, that's definitely not. It's just a mindset thing. You know, like we all have challenges, but it could be an opportunity. So, yeah. And then this past year, we expanded to Maui. Earlier in the year, we went to Oahu in mid-year, and then in Kauai, we merged with a team on Kauai. So now we have a statewide operation. But the cool thing about that was, all of the stuff that we talked about with like systems, all we had to do was like change the name from Big Island to Maui, and then you got a system. Then as long as you get good agents that want to work the system, it was like duplicatable. And so that was another thing where we thought it would be hard to go to a different island. It ended up being really actually easy once we had all the systems in place. So like a Facebook ad campaign, you can just apply that, change the copy to say Maui to Oahu, and then now you have all the things you need to generate leads on another island. So, yes.
Can you talk about your decision to be, starting out as an individual agent versus going to a team? How long did that take to decide that was your plan? And
there was no plan. So we had like a family team. So the way I started was I went to work with my mom and my stepdad, and we weren't like a traditional real estate team. And that's one of the things about Hawaii is we're really isolated, and like the real estate team doesn't really exist there. So that's one of the cool blessings we have about isolation is like what we do as a team, like we have no competition. Now they're starting to kind of pop up, but they're not at scale like we are. So I just saw that just our little family operation made sense because we could share the workload. My mom did a lot of transaction management, and then when my brother joined, it was like we had another skill set. And then what made me think about team was we wanted to bring one more guy on the other side of the island so we could send leads to him, because it's 2 hours to drive from one side of the island to the other. And actually at the brokerage I was at, they started giving me crap about that. Like they wanted to start him on a new agent split, and I was like, he should be on our split because I'm gonna give him all his business and he's gonna be working for us. And so they didn't really understand what I was trying to do, which was a blessing because that kind of pushed me out to go figure something else out. But I just felt from the very beginning that the individual agent model of doing absolutely everything yourself makes no sense. Coming from like a military background, like you don't shoot the machine gun and drive the truck and patch the guy up when he gets shot. Like nobody does that, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I mean, there's people who do stuff, and I'm like, but real estate agents, like they generate the leads, they follow up on the leads, they gotta market themselves, then they gotta show property, then they gotta write contracts, then they gotta manage a transaction. I mean, it's just like the most inefficient, insane business model that never made any sense to me. So I was like, we're not gonna do that anymore. So, like I've never, from day one, I never managed a transaction because I was like, why would I ever do that when I could be generating more leads and putting more business in the pipeline? So it was intuitive kind of in the beginning a little bit, and then I saw what people were doing at scale in other markets and other places, and I'm like, man, there's actually systems for this. Like you can do this at a way bigger level than we ever dreamed of in Hawaii. Again, no plan.
I totally agree with that. I've often said that. But how do you approach the team financially speaking?
Yep.
What do you tell? Like you bring on Tony and he's...
So here's another thing. Like, I mean, I guess secret sauce. I mean, totally transparent what we do. Like our team, like commission structure is pretty unique. Like we have a very low team split. So if any personal business people bring to the table is 10%, like we don't take a lot of money from them. So it incentivizes them to stick around. We do take 25 to 40% splits on the team leads, but that's still less than like the 50% that most teams will take. I guess it was easier for us to do this because I really didn't even start taking splits till like we were doing like 100 million in volume before like I even had a real organized commission structure. So again, not recommended to do it that way, but that was one of our challenges throughout the system. Was it got to the point where I'm generating all these leads and I didn't have like a whole lot of accountability on where they were going because I needed better systems in place. But that's one of the things that holds, I think, teams back from scaling is they take too much money, right? An agent's not going to give 50% of their money away forever, but you have to do that in the model where you have to hire 5 different types of managers where you're paying everybody $100,000 a year. So in our model, if you're a mentor, like we don't pay you a salary, but you get 10% of the agent's commission when they close. So that way you're incentivized to help them close. If you're a leads manager, you get a percentage of everything that you generate that converts. If you're an area leader, you get a percentage of stuff. So people are just bought in, they're partners in the system and they're not like employees. So the team, like I think from if you looked at like a P&L, like the amount of money we generate, like if you look at what I collect as a team leader is way less than other team leaders would collect, but it's because the money's being paid out before it ever gets to me. So that's the way you that's just a different way to do it is you can have employees, you can have partners, and to me the partnership model works way better than hiring people and having to have sales directors and whatever else, right? So that's definitely, I should have talked about that. But that's I think been a unintentional secret to scaling was that we never had to worry about. Agents rarely leave, like the retention rate is ridiculous. Like I went to an event one time and I heard somebody say that they brought on 100 agents last year, but they lost 80. So like they netted 20. And I'm like, man, that's a horrible, you gotta have like 3 employees just to like manage the onboarding and offboarding, right? That's crazy. So to me, it's better to like, just continue to grow. You're gonna lose, you can't save everybody, but it's way easier to sustain growth if like you're not offboarding 1 person for every 2 that you bring on, so.
Question for you. Looking at your experience with Coldwell Banker, and then today with EXP, what do you find is, could you do what you're doing at the scale that you're doing it at CB, why or why not?
There's some technical, definitely no. Some technical reasons are the franchise model, right? So like on the islands, there's different franchises in every island. And actually I get agents that join the team because they're with a franchise and they cannot sell on a different island. And they're like, yeah, I see you doing business on all the islands. How do you do that? And I'm like, because you can, like there's no restriction on where we do business. And so that's a major restriction is just the market restrictions with franchises. And then just, I think the financial model doesn't make sense because if you're paying a franchise fee, plus you're paying splits forever, at some point you don't have the money to reinvest in your business. And that was a big advantage I had was like, I was paying like, $20K or less in splits to the company total, and I could spend $100,000 building a team because I had all this extra money, right? So you can reinvest money in the way you want to see it spent versus like having to pay. And here's a crazy thing, I talked about this in Maui. The team last year, so this is, because now like I'm kind of on a mission to like save franchise owners and independents that are like just bleeding cash right in this market. And so I'm asking them to recruit me, like tell me what your situation is and let's see, like I want to know like if I brought 250 million in volume, like what would that cost me, right? If I brought the whole team to your brokerage, what would that cost me? And so I can figure out behind the hood what they're doing. But in 2023, we did 6.5 million in GCI, right? The team did 6.5 million in GCI. The team paid in hard splits $143,000. That's 2%, right? In hard costs to the brokerage. Like, that, and that's it. Like, there's no franchise fee, there's no addition, and that doesn't take into account the soft benefits of stock ownership, of the icon awards that we get back, all of those other kind of soft, these are just hard costs of money we paid to EXP versus what we received. So when you compare that to like any other model, it's financially, like it's impossible to have that kind of return and be able to invest back in your business and do stuff. So yeah, I can have that conversation all day now because I've been like obsessing about it lately. I'm like, because I've never heard somebody say that. Like all the events I've been to and nobody's ever said like, what is your real true cost of being at the company versus comparing it to someplace else. The franchise fee alone is going to cost is 4% more than what I'm paying the company, right? So
they're paying 2%.
That's what the net cost is because everybody caps at 4,000, right? They don't cap at 16. So when you scale it up and the production is at that level, yeah. The percentage of the actual percentage of the hard cost just continues to shrink. So it's crazy, yeah.
Awesome.
It's insane. If you add rev share into that, we're at more than 100%, right? If you add the collective rev share of all of just me personally, it almost wipes out the 143,000, right? So, when you add that in, it's a net positive almost, so.
Any other questions for Dylan? You can all wait for Wyatt. Come on, don't hold back. Any questions, ladies? Are you on teams or are you individuals?
We're individuals,
Okay.
but we support each other.
Nice.
You need a buddy, at least one friend, right?
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
an unofficial team. Yeah, that's kind of what we do as well.
So what we've done is, with Berkshire Hathaway, we're in Tahoe City, but there's Incline, there's Tahoe. And so we have developed relationships with people in each one of those offices. So we kind of advertise ourselves as collaborators, because we're not,
Right.
I actually have a partner, but she's an individual, but we are doing all this marketing that any place in Tahoe, any place on the lake, we have an agent for you, and then that way,
So we for like a friend of ours in South Shore.
Yeah.
And if we get a client for South Shore, we'll send them right over to Joanne's.
right. And Nevada, I don't have a Nevada license, so we have some in Incline and Reno and all that, so. And I've been doing a huge marketing campaign, because we're pretty new to Berkshire Hathaway, we joined in September? Yeah, so,
From where?
we were with Chrissy Serino.
Yeah.
But basically, I was out of the Bay Area. I wasn't with Linda Granger, she was with Linda Granger. Yeah, but our office was in the Bay Area where I come from, and with my partner. And, after 3 years of floating in the wind, so we didn't have an office, didn't have a manager. I'm like, hey, do you work in real estate? What document do you want to use? And we did, we managed to sell things, but finally I said to my partner, I can't work like this, I need help. So we joined and so I've been doing the old Brian Buffini send notes, and so I sent out a blast to 80 agents, hard copy. This is where we are, this is what we're doing. Already got 2 referrals. People are calling me going, oh my God, this is so great. The gig is still at school. And I was like, oh my gosh, now I get to know what you're doing. And you just gotta keep in front of them, right? You just gotta keep in front of them. And it's all.
Don't discount the old school stuff, because that stuff still works. I don't do it, but it definitely works,
I
yeah.
know how to do. So it's getting traction in just a short amount of time, So, yeah.
Well, we could use partners in Tahoe City.
Yeah, that's perfect. Now, what do you think of the mass texting performance?
We don't really mass text, but the CRM does text as part of our follow-up programs. So the only time we mass text is to specific segments within the database. So like if we tag everybody who comes in and looking for a short-term rental as a short-term rental shopper, and then if we get a great short-term rental opportunity that comes in the market, we'll do a video and then we'll mass text it out. But it's somewhat targeted, right? Because it's relevant to what we know that they're looking for. So it works. I mean, text definitely replies are way higher than anything else. But I don't want to annoy people and get
thousands of emails going out. People don't want to see thousands of email.
Right.
And they're more apt to answer to a text than.
But I think it's got to be relevant. Like,
Right.
we all get like the healthcare text,
Oh.
like immediately like delete, right? So I think the main thing is trying to keep the content relevant via text more than email, because email you can just open it and not read it or just disregard it, but you want them to actually read the text. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But it's in videos. That's the thing is with text too, right? It's like, here's a quick video. I mean, you guys. We have the same relationship, like in terms of like beautiful scenery, right? So I tell the agents, like the easiest text message follow-up is take a picture or a video of the sunset and then send it to all like your warm leads, like, and just say I was thinking about you, and send them a video. Like you guys can do that here too, right? So those are the kind of things that are just like not out of the box real estate that you're gonna get a way better response rate to than like, here's a great off-market property, right? So yeah,
One thing with those texts that we've all been getting from, hey, you provide low health insurance costs, so let me send you a quote, is to just reply back and say, no thanks. Well, for us, we've got great healthcare through EXP.
yeah.
So we'll say, no, we're covered, got it through EXP, thanks. By the way, do you know anybody who needs to buy, sell, or invest?
That's good.
Fall back over to them.
Yeah. Tee it right back up. Yeah.
That's cute.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dylan.
All right. Yes. Thank you guys. That was awesome.